hopping a hand for
Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And welcome once again. Thank you for tuning in. What's that?
It's nothing. I'm talking to myself. I can't see my face. The microphone was like right in front of my face. I'm like, I moved it around. It's not working.
We just can't seem to get a clean opening, can
No,
we? There's
never.
always something between one of us. But thank you so much for joining us, as you guys always do. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the 5-star written reviews. All great ways to join us and help out the podcast. Another great way to help out the podcast, of course, tell a friend. Help spread the word. Help introduce other people to Behind the Funny. It's a big, big help. And how else can they help us, Ace?
They can join our Patreon page and be a patron. And what do they get for that? They get a either a coffee mug or a T-shirt.
Some merch.
They'll get extra content. We've got some extra episodes, some panel shows, some earlier episodes that have been locked in the vault. Some of them for good reason, but but if you want to hear early seasons when we were not as stellar as we are now, you can check that out. And it's only $5 a month. It's a very easy one giving level, $5 a month. Go to patreon.com/behind the funny. And that's how to get on Patreon.
Yes, and once again, I want to give a shout out to our friends at the Mixtape Podcast.
Oh yeah,
I
listened. Yeah, I listened to one of them. I loved it. It was so good.
Did you listen to the ones of songs you didn't know
were
remakes?
That's
It was actually really interesting.
Yeah,
because I didn't know a lot of those songs were remakes.
I knew, believe it or not, I kind of gave myself.
I knew about
test.
half of them.
I knew maybe a little bit more, but there were some I was like, holy shit, I did not know.
But
that.
those guys are really funny.
Yeah,
they're really, really funny. It's an enjoyable podcast. They kind of revisit things from the 80s and 90s, look at it through the lens of today, but you know, like they like to call themselves, they're a bunch of morons going down memory lane.
They're a bunch of morons. We're a couple of morons. So
see, that's why I think that's why we enjoy it so much.
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely check those guys out over at the Mixtape Podcast. So.
Yeah,
and our bourbon date this week, we went international.
Yeah, it's not even a bourbon; it's a Scotch.
That's right, a Scotch whiskey.
Yeah, you do it better than me. That's the one impression I can't do.
That's great. I love it.
So this is Ardbeg 10. It is a smoky, peaty, earthy type of Scotch whiskey from the Islay region of Scotland, which is known for its peaty and earthy.
Drinking a swampy moss.
It really is. But you know what? It goes really well with a cigar. That's the first time I had it. That it does. Cigar.
That it does.
Too bad I can't. I mean, I can smoke in my house, but I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to smoke cigars in my house.
Right. So we'll just enjoy the Ardbeg this evening.
So clinkies.
Cheers.
And let's welcome our guest,
please,
because he's been quietly sitting here watching us idiots talk for 4 minutes.
I'm not going to interrupt you guys.
Sorry. No. We this is a guy.
He's like, let them make an ass out of themselves.
Yeah, we do it all the time. We have wanted this guy on the podcast for a very long time. We've been doing this podcast 5.5 years, and we've wanted him on for a while, and he never felt he had anything to talk about. But he's one of the Boston staples, and he's been around for a long time. He's a hilarious comic, and we've talked about him before. One of the best joke writers in Boston, and just I don't even know if you still do. I'm going to bring up one of your jokes in a little bit, but it's one of the funniest jokes, and it's so simple and it's so Boston. But
I hope it's mine.
Yeah, it is. Well, it was about 10-15 years ago. I don't know. I have never seen anyone else do it, but please welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast. Hold on, I'm really fancy and I got words that come up. Yeah,
Usually when people produce, they don't talk.
Yeah, I know.
The steps
I know.
they're taking to
Let's
do the
welcome
production.
Paul Nardizzi to the Behind the Funny podcast. We don't have.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
we even
This is a lot of fun. This is a cool basement.
Thanks.
I learned when I came down. And by the way, you guys don't do your opening very well. You start drinking 20 minutes before you start the podcast.
Yeah, we do.
That might not be the best move.
Maybe
Might
not.
be.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? We have been talking about pre-recording the opening with all the business stuff because we used to. I think we should go back to that.
I think so.
And
So
then
we can
just
just
get
start the
right
conversation.
into the intro.
I agree.
Yeah. So
I
listen,
agree.
folks.
That way we can pregame and not worry about
we
doing the
can
opening.
take constructive feedback and we hear you and we hear our guest. Like, what are you two clowns doing?
Yeah,
But what I
exactly.
learned when I came down
Yeah.
to your basement is that maybe I knew this and I forgot. Is your name is Rich.
Yeah.
I
No.
would have guessed it was like some Italian, like Acedio or something. When you got Ace. Where
Yes,
Where did you get Ace out of Rich?
It was Ace Aceto. Aceto is my last name. So the first three letters of my last name.
Okay.
But yeah, Rich.
Dude,
I know.
I
It's
was
not
friends
that
with him
Italian
for
exotic.
years, and then I heard someone call him Rich one day, and I went, "Who's Rich?" I
Yeah.
had no idea who they were talking about. And
I know.
he said to me, "You know that's my real name, right? You didn't think Ace was my real name?" And I'm like, "Of course not.
No, that'd be
no, I knew
ridiculous.
that."
Yeah.
So you can sign. You get checks either way. You can
I'll
cash 'em.
take checks either way. Yeah. My bank account is set up to have Ace Aceto comedy on it as well.
Oh.
So yeah, feel free if you want to book me for one of your shows. In all fairness, you did reach out to me once and I wasn't available, but yeah, I'll take any check, Rich
All right.
or Ace, doesn't matter.
Well, we're all doing a show together in September, so I'll remember that when I make out your check.
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
the
at
theater.
Center at Eagle Hill.
Oh yeah.
Tickets are now on sale
Oh, good.
on their website. Went up this week, so the
Nice.
link is out there. So that should be a good time, September 24th.
All right. I'll see you there, Rich.
The
All
Center
right.
at
Watch every fucking time he sees me.
Hey,
now, he's gonna be
Rich.
like, what's up, Rich?
Hey,
That's
Rich.
That's my name. What am I gonna do? That's fine.
Not too much.
So thanks for coming down too. Coming from Boston area, I know it's like he said when he walked in. Yeah, I've never been to Coventry. I go, there's really no reason. There's really no reason other than this podcast for people to come here.
Well, I do a podcast with Radigan and Roberti, two comedians, and it's
Yeah.
much better when the guest is in there than when he's calling in and
It is. Yeah.
he's getting another call and it's beeping and
Yeah.
it's mayhem.
We started doing it during, obviously lockdown and during, the pandemic because you kind of had to. You didn't have a
Right.
choice.
Right.
And then sometimes we have guests on the West Coast or something like that. So out of necessity, you do it. But
Yeah.
you're right. You see them get distracted because, their spouse will walk by the other side of the room and talk
Yeah.
to them or ask them a question. The phone goes off and too many things are going on.
What do we had? We had Sean Morey on last year,
yeah.
and the whole time he's talking, and all of a sudden he goes, "What? What?" He goes, "I'm sorry, my girlfriend is telling me that I'm moving the computer too much," because he had the computer
On a
set up on a
box.
box, and he was moving the box, and the computer was jiggling, and I'm like, "Oh,
And she's
don't worry
watching in
about
the
it,
other
man."
room directing him.
She's literally going, "Stop moving the box."
You don't want me on Zoom. Every time I'm on Zoom, I'm not on the screen. People
Oh,
are like,
really?
You're not on this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where the camera button is on my.
Yeah,
Computer?
right, right, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we had Zolo on last week, and same thing. He had never taken the sticker off the camera on his
Okay, yeah.
laptop.
I've
All of
probably
a sudden,
done
I
that.
go, "We're looking at an eclipse. Hold on, our guest is figuring it out." Then he goes, "Yeah, there's a little sticker that says remove this after sale." Yep, that's it. So,
Yeah, well, comedians are not necessarily IT people.
yeah, no, I
No,
know
for sure.
Some guys are better than others.
I will say though, doing it remotely did open it up for us for having guests from Florida. We've had some from Florida, some from the West Coast. We got to talk to Sean, and he's out in California. We had Ed Regine on; he's out in California. So
Well, the
it has been pretty cool.
longest distance one was Al Del Bene from Australia.
Yeah, from Sydney.
You mentioned Ed Regine. I haven't heard that. Is he
Yeah.
still doing comedy?
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, he's out. He's actually. It's funny. He had moved to Vegas or Nevada or Lake Tahoe for a long time. And then I thought it was not long ago. And then he reminded me, he said, "Yeah, I've been out here for 20 years. He moved into LA in 2000. He's still doing comedy, but he's been doing a lot of acting. So he was in small parts, but he was in like a Kendrick Lamar video that blew up. He had a Super Bowl commercial on this past year.
Oh, I saw that.
The one where he's selling like steaks out of his trench coat.
Yeah.
And then he had a small part in
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino movie. He played the maitre d' in one of the restaurants. He had to bring like a drink over to Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, yeah.
He needs to brush up on his table of elements, though.
Yeah. Why?
Because I was East Providence, probably early 2000s.
Yep.
And I kept doing the boron joke that I did for the Olympics.
Boron. Yeah.
And it wasn't getting laughs. And McGuire said, we're in East Providence. I don't know what boron is. I said, would you give these people a little credit?
Yeah.
As I said this, Regine walked into the dressing room and said, what's boron?
Oh, that's awesome.
That's perfect.
The timing was amazing.
Totally proved your point. It was almost like you paid him to say that, right? So we like to kind of talk a little bit about our guest and their career. When did you start doing comedy? When was the first time that you got up on stage?
Well, people always say the first time they got on stage.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to say the first time that I did comedy was on a bus because, sometimes people just decide to do it and go on stage. But I needed some confidence before I did that.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, I was injured, playing soccer, and the coach told me to take notes and address the team after the game and go over the weak points and the high points.
Yeah.
And I saw that as an opportunity to make them laugh.
Yeah.
So I wrote a whole routine about the game.
Oh my God.
And
really?
I was nervous as hell. The bus was dimly lit.
Yep.
So that
No
helped
spotlight.
because I didn't want it to be bright.
Right.
But I kind of killed. I mean, I knew these guys and I had all the ins and outs about the team and their habits. So that was a big confidence booster.
Yeah.
And then every single oral report in college, even though my parents paid for college, I just said, give me a D, give me the flunk.
You did not want
I didn't want to be in front of people.
Right.
But as a senior, I had to do one with a group because I couldn't bail on the group.
Yeah.
So I drank some of the stuff you're drinking and I showed up and I had Dennis Miller's bits interspersed into my thing. And I also did well there. So had those not gone well, I probably never would have done comedy.
Right.
I wouldn't be in your basement in 2022 unless I was scoping the joint out and I was going to rob you.
So
I
lucky.
wouldn't be here right now.
I'm so happy.
But it went well.
Yeah.
So I was working at a bank and this guy was passing out flyers about this comedy night at Duck Soup.
Yep.
For anyone in the banking or money industry, financial industry,
Yep.
to come in and win $500 doing stand-up.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, this is another opportunity where I don't have to follow anybody really good. It's just a bunch of schmucks.
Right. Right.
So I went in and did well, didn't win. I lost to a guy telling street jokes, but at that point I didn't care. I just wanted to get more stage time. And that went well. That was like my first time on a stage in a club.
What year was that? Do you
Probably
remember?
1990.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because Duck Soup wasn't around for that much longer. I started in 89, but it was down here. I didn't go to Boston until like 91, 92. So, and I think by then Duck Soup had closed.
Yeah, I'd closed pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. It's funny because Jimmy Dunn, same thing, was working in a bank. And I wonder if he was on the same show doing jokes. But yeah, that's the thing. People would just get up back then and they would just do street jokes. My first time on stage was for a contest. I didn't have jokes. I acted out movie scenes and did impressions.
Did it go well though?
It went well, but Charlie Hall pulled me aside and said, listen, your impressions are good. They're always going to be a crowd pleaser, but if you want to make it in comedy and really take this seriously, you got to write. You could still keep the impressions, but you need to write original material around those impressions. And that's, and that's how it started. But
that was the first time I did it was in college at the student union. There was Groucho's Comedy Club in Hartford, and then they would come and do a show once a month in the student union. And I got up there and did it. And I'll be honest, I basically did a bunch of material from people I heard on HBO and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what you got when you started.
I just, I was a cover act back then. Is what I did. And it was just that gave me the confidence of being on stage in front of people and making them laugh. And then I really stopped for many, many years. And we had him on, but Cal Verducci is the one that helped me get back into it when I met him.
Okay.
And I got back in 20 years ago, so, and actually you were the headliner my first paid weekend at a comedy club.
Really? Which club?
East Providence Comedy Club.
Okay. Was I nice? Was I polite? Or was I a jerk?
No, I actually, it was Artie Januario was the feature. I was hosting and you were closing. And I remember it was that back then was Wednesday to Sunday night when we did seven shows. And Wednesday night, we had a decent crowd on Wednesday, decent crowd Thursday. And I'm like, what are Sunday nights like here? And Paul's like, you'll see. And then Sunday night comes and they were like the tough. East Providence crowd, and they were tough. And he goes, "This is Sunday in East Providence."
Yep.
Did I also have a periodic table and I was showing you all
some people boring?
No, you didn't do that.
You know what this was?
You told me something that I've told people to this day when I work with them, and they do this. I said, I think it was the second night or whatever. I did my opening, and then I said, "I'm going to bring you first comic up." And as soon as I went in the back, you said, "Why did you say you're bringing the first comic up? You're the first comic."
Right.
I still tell people that.
Right.
Everybody still does that.
You're like, you totally just discredited yourself for what you just did.
Do you want to get the show started? We started 10 minutes ago with you.
Yeah.
You told jokes.
Just 2 months ago, I told a new guy that who did the same exact thing. He spent 7 minutes, got their attention, made them laugh, and said, "Now I'll bring up your first comic." Well, what are you doing? You sweeping the floors afterwards? I mean, what is your job? So that has stuck with me since.
Only if you're
then.
Jimmy Cash.
Yes,
you're sweeping
Jimmy
the floors
after. So you did your first time in a club at Duck Soup, and then was that it? You were off and running from there, and you're kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many clubs back then. So you could just go in on a Monday and go on Billy Martin's Nick show, and then and then up the street was the Playhouse, do a spot there, and you were just pretty much. So I was working at this bank, and then at night just doing all these shows for a year or two before I got finally paid. Dominic Ventry, who was the manager of Nick's, said, "I'm going to put you on salary. I only have one other guy on salary. That's Larry Rapucci. I'm going to pay you $500 every week. And you'll just go wherever I send you. You might be in Randolph one week, you might be in Brockton, you might be in 2 rooms, but it's always going to be $500 whether you do 1 show or 5 shows."
Right.
And I was like, okay, so that equals what I make at the bank. So see you later, bank.
Yeah.
So that's how it's,
that's how you transitioned over to doing it full time. It's funny because we had Kevin Flynn on a couple of weeks ago, and that was the same thing with him. He's like, all of a sudden I started making way more money. I'm getting sent all over the place. I'm getting paid cash. I'm coming home at the end of the weekend going, I got $3,500. This is more than I make at my day job.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this,
Yeah. It's not like that anymore.
No, it is not. No, I missed
back
that
to the bank next week.
Yeah, I
the
missed.
tides have turned.
That's why I work for a drug company because it is not like that.
Now, even in the beginning, were you always a person that wrote a lot all the time? Because that's one of the things when people talk about you, because we've had guys on the show that know you, is you're known as a guy that's, constantly coming up with material, writing material. You're known as a very good writer, but also you write a copious amount of material. Have that always been a kind of a thing for you? Like even in the beginning, you were constantly writing a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'm flattered to know that. I didn't know that, but I think when I was not to jump ahead a little, I was in a contest with Stanhope, who's mentioned on your board here, and Dane Cook and Dwight Slade. So we were competing for the San Francisco thing, and it was a tough crowd the last night. And the writer the next day mentioned that Stanhope won because he was most comfortable in silence. Which I was kind of pissed at, but he's right.
Right.
I'm not comfortable in silence.
Right.
Which is why I need to keep joking. I'm not one of these guys that likes to just kind of meander around. And it's okay if that one didn't work and I can just talk to the crowd. Like, that's just not me.
No, you just go straight to the joke. Right.
I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just read recently that Bill Hicks never made eye contact with anyone in the crowd. This is an HBO comedian. He says, if I ever saw someone looking at me, I was done.
Really?
So he looked over everyone's head. So we all have our little foibles. My thing was just keep joking. If one doesn't work, just go to the next one and just keep going. So it ended up being a really
tight set.
Yeah.
Right. But see, with you, you're also, they say the economy of words. You're like an economist of words. Like you trim all the fat. Like I am a meanderer. I tell stories. I'm all over the place. I'm getting laughs as I'm telling the story.
Yeah.
It's just a different style, but I that has hurt me when it comes to contests and shit like that, where you're like, okay, you got 4 minutes. Fuck. That's a setup.
Right.
I haven't even gotten to the punchline yet.
Right.
I don't even know what words to cut. That's where I freeze up.
Well, guys like Mike Donovan, Tom Cotter, yourself, you're very efficient with your words.
Gavin.
Don Gavin. Yeah. The guys that know exactly how to put the words together and what order to hit when they need to hit. And like you said, boom, 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 boom. Don't give them a chance to breathe.
Well, it's funny you mentioned those three because those are guys I like to watch.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm
were
not
influenced
surprised
by.
I'm not surprised.
Well, and that's the funny thing. We were talking to Don Zolo last week, and he was saying that, we all get those people that come up to us after a show like, oh, my friends say I'm funny, I should do comedy.
Yeah.
And, I had always told him, yeah, absolutely, try it. I'm not going to discourage you, but understand your friends laugh at you because they're in on the joke. Yeah. And Zolo brought it one step further. He's like, yeah, they know the setup. All you have to do with your friends is write the punchline.
Yeah.
The tougher part when you're doing stand-up for strangers is you have to write the setup and the punchline. But it's hard for some of us to write a setup that doesn't go too far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I say the economy of words that you have, you know how to take total strangers and say, here's my setup, here's the punchline, you're going to laugh. And it works. And like you said, if there is silence, which I haven't seen once we worked together once and we both got silence, and I'll tell you the story after, but it wasn't total silence, but it was tough.
Yeah.
But your joke writing and joke telling is like right on. You know what I mean? It's here's the setup, here's the punchline. Here's the setup, here's the punchline. Oh, you didn't laugh at that? Here's another setup, here's another punchline.
Mm-hmm.
For guys like me, I got to go, fuck, now I got to go tell another story, and hope that they laugh at that, at the three setups that I have in it, setups and punchlines that I have in the story. So I admire people who write jokes like you do.
Well, one thing that I've noticed since the pandemic is I'm more comfortable in silence now because I don't give a shit.
Yeah, right.
Because we almost lost this job.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
Like, whatever.
You're paying me. I'm doing my job. Exactly. Did you do any Zoom shows?
Yeah,
during
and then
the
I
pandemic?
stopped. I pretty much told myself, unless it's a 4-figure worth it gig, like
Right.
these birthday parties where
Yeah.
because they expected you to do it for less because you're home, you don't have to leave the house,
Right.
but it's still the thing that I've worked on for years. Where I'm like
Exactly.
giving it to you for nothing.
And that's what people don't understand. When you hire a comic, you're not paying for the time they're on stage. You're paying for the years of experience that they have and the years of building that material to get to that stage.
Yeah. And they'll often say, well, what if I only have you do 20 minutes? Like, we like doing comedy. We don't charge less because we have to do less work.
Right, exactly.
It's fun for us.
Right.
So
It's also the opposite, though. It's the only job where they say, can you come do 30 minutes? I'll pay you this amount. And then you get there. If you're having fun, you can do more time.
Yeah.
Are you paying me more?
If you're having fun, you could pay me more. How's that?
They don't tell garbage workers at the end of your 8-hour shift, if you're enjoying yourself, pick up more garbage.
Yeah, pick up more garbage.
Go for it.
Keep going.
It's the only job where that happens.
Right.
If you're having fun, do more work.
That was
We're not gonna pay you more, but do more work.
Yeah, I didn't have fun with the Zoom shows. There were a couple that I did that
found
were
them
okay.
soul crushing. I really did.
Yeah.
I did the Boston Comedy Festival when he
That
did
was the only
thing
good one.
online one year.
oh, they did?
He did the
Yeah.
whole thing online,
Wow.
and what was the Flappers?
Flappers Comedy Club
in
Yeah,
California
they
helped them host it and run
Yeah.
it, and they did a nice job. And I did one of the nights, one of the preliminary rounds. I closed the show while they were calculating the points, and we had like 60 something people watching.
Mhm.
And that was okay because they were like acted like a real audience,
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the other ones I did were just, like you were talking about distracting when you have a guest on. I'm in the middle of trying to tell a joke, and all of a sudden I heard a lady like, "Hey, Bob, if you're grabbing a beer, get me one."
Yeah.
Because they feel like you're not in the room with them. They
Right.
can just
They
act
forget they're not on
normal.
mute.
So
You
they
know?
did a contest online.
Yeah.
And who won?
I don't know who won
I
that
forgot
year.
who won that.
I did one of
year.
the prelim rounds too.
You did
the semifinals.
You did the
I did.
semifinals because you did later.
That was
in the
fun
week.
because it was like 100 something people on that one.
Yeah, they were drawing a bunch of people
And they were
trying
good.
to watch the.
There needs to be
I
an
don't remember
asterisk though next.
Yeah,
to this guy's
right.
name. You went on a Zoom.
Yeah, right.
It
There was one guy though. One guy,
There was my night. I know what you're gonna say.
and he got to the semifinals, so he was on one of my nights, and he literally set up a camera, had a fake brick wall behind him,
backdrop
and
stage.
he didn't do it through like Zoom, like he was on Zoom, but he stood up and did it in front of the brick wall as if he was
He
in
had a
front
mic
of an audience.
stand with a
He had a mic-
microphone.
Yeah, he did it right. Honestly, I wonder if he won.
There were
Or he-
other the bunch of others, like one guy sitting there in his t-shirt in his living room,
Yeah.
not even with a microphone, just talking through like the mic on his iPad. It's like, dude, at least put
Sorry,
a
we can't
little
hear you.
effort
And then
in.
he's like down.
Yeah.
You're in a contest. At least put a little
Yeah.
bit of effort in.
Right.
You know, this other guy's there with a suit jacket on in front of a brick wall,
In front of a
and
brick
you're
wall.
just yelling into your Dell laptop.
Right.
Were you both performing? Or you were a judge.
No, I performed. I didn't
No.
judge.
I performed too.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like we were the math comics. You know, at the end of the show
That's-
when they're
that's what they
tallying
call
up
it.
the scores,
Yeah.
we were just doing like 10 minutes.
It's like the check spot, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you won the festival, and was that the first year of the festival?
No, Russo won the
Russo won the
inaugural.
first
Russo won
one,
that
right.
first year. That's right.
And then I won the second year. The guy that I beat was on, I can't remember his name, but he was on Stern. He was kind of a heavy comic on Stern.
Oh,
for
really?
Like the month leading up to it.
Yep.
He did impressions of Pacino. And
Oh, was
Stern
it
Italy.
Craig
Craig
Gass?
Gass?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was like in the finals with me.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he was in the festival.
Is he still around?
Oh, yeah. He's
Yeah?
still on Stern. He's still.
He is?
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't listened to Stern in a while, but as of not long ago, he was still doing impressions. And
he still tours
I
around
see
the
him on
country
Facebook.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does a lot with like rock musicians. He got hooked in with a lot of like rock musicians and shit. So
Well, that's because he does like the Gene Simmons impression,
Right,
and
right.
stuff like that.
yeah. Oh, that's too funny. I didn't realize he was in the festival. So when you won, had the check gone up because
gonna ask that question.
Russo was so pissed that like the first year it was like a $500 check,
winner.
and then the next year it was like $10,000 to the
Yeah.
winner. So you made
Well,
the good money.
It was a $10,000 total prize. So I thought I was getting 10, but it was only 7 or 8.
Oh,
'cause they
okay.
were handing out, second
Oh,
and third
the
and fourth.
prizes. Right.
Yeah, because I was like, you guys fucked me. Like, no. Look at the. Oh, okay. Look at the
Oh,
rules.
okay. Yeah. Right. And then the IRS was there for
Right,
their part
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't.
You get $7,000 plus a McDonald's book, a gift certificate.
Yeah.
You know,
Wendy's.
Yeah, some
Wendy's.
dick bucks.
Yeah, dick bucks. Yeah, right.
just all this gift certificates.
A
and
Wendy's
shit.
Frosty booklet.
Yeah, exactly.
10 Frosties for $1.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Hey, now I got to pay taxes on this
Yeah,
shit.
right. So you started in 90 and pretty much started working almost right away. Were you working for other places when you were doing the Knicks salary thing, or could you work for other
Yeah,
places?
I could
Or
work for other places.
yeah,
But
and
it just couldn't interfere. He'd give me my schedule on Monday, and then if you were out of Brockton at 9 or 10, you could do
You
something
could-
before it. Or,
yeah,
yeah,
you
so-
could double up and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So I owe Dominic a lot because I hated my day job. My day job
Yeah.
allowed me to meet my wife,
Yep,
and then it was like
but
sign.
that's it. Yeah. What you don't have to name what bank. What did you do at the bank? Were you like a teller, or were you working in
no,
finance?
I can name it. It was Boston Company, which is now it was bought out by Mellon.
Oh, okay.
Mellon Bank in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. So my job was basically to close out trades. So you just get this
Okay.
piece of paper and you just key it in, and it's closed.
And
And,
that's
then
it.
at 5:00, the bank,
The bell would-
treasury
You're right.
ends and the day is over. But sometimes something would come over the wire at the last second. You'd have to send it back.
Oh,
And if it didn't go back, you're stuck with that.
you're
and the interest.
responsible for it.
So people are
Oh.
screaming. And it was kind of exciting. People are screaming and yelling. It's like you're yelling at me over a fax machine. I could only put the paper in so fast.
Yeah, right.
Like nonsense.
So did you go to school for that? Is that what you went to school for? Or?
I went to school for marketing,
Okay.
and to this day I suck at marketing. So how I ended up in finance because I just needed to get a job,
Right.
and move out and be a man and not live in my parents' house.
I know the feeling.
So I bought a car, and then it was just, what am I going to do with my life? And that's when comedy was kind of whispering
Right.
in my ear. So
yeah, my degree was in psychology, and I went into sales and comedy. So both of which use psychology, but I didn't become a counselor or anything like
Yeah.
that. Because again, I needed to make money. I was just like,
I can tell you about the worst gig I ever did. Is that a question you asked?
We do ask people at the end.
Oh, okay.
But we want to talk about some of the fun gigs. Like, what are some of the high points? Like gigs that you did where you're like, oh shit, I can't believe I'm working with this person, or I can't believe I'm playing this place I always wanted to play, or something like that.
Because mine was that first weekend working with you in East Providence.
What a kiss up.
That's
and learning all about boron.
And because I learned about
the chemistry
boron,
class,
helium,
Yeah, I think I changed the element as the weekend went on. It didn't matter.
Every night it was learning experience.
Yeah, right.
So
he just went down the periodic chart, right?
He was Walter White before Breaking Bad.
What's related to boron? Oh, okay. Chlorine.
The audience is probably lost at this point, so let me just explain the joke. The joke is too many medals in the Olympics: gold, silver, bronze. Why don't we just hand them all out? Would you come in 57th? Here's a big chunk of boron. Dead silence on that.
On the East Providence night.
Go in the locker room, dressing room, and Chris is like, "Ain't gonna work." No, it will. Next show. He's like, "See," and then Ed came in, and it was the timing was so. I mean, the curtain came just as he goes, "They don't fucking get it."
So what the hell is boron?
Nowadays, people would be on their phones Googling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Boron. Oh, it's
boron?
the 23rd element. Yeah, right. Actually,
so memorable shows.
Yeah.
I guess two come to mind. So Montreal Comedy Festival.
Yep. What year do you remember?
I don't remember. What I remember is one of the Giggles crew, like a hanger-on at Giggles, not a comedian, but just a guy that was always at Giggles,
always at
hanging
shows.
out.
Yeah,
kind of a troublemaker. I like the guy. I sort of migrate to troublemakers. He decides to jump a ride with me. He wants to go to Montreal. He loves it up there. Come on, let's go. So we go up, and he says to pull over before we get to the border. I'm looking at him like this, and he does something to my car, and then he gets back in, and we drive past, and he tells me that he hid weed under my engine block. This is what you get at Giggles, right?
Right. Yeah, right.
You know, he's a tough guy. Like, you don't want to say but I'm kind of,
you don't want to say the wrong thing, but you're a little pissed, right?
Don't fucking tell me. He goes, well, if I told you, you'd be nervous.
Yeah.
Like, but now I'm fucking nervous.
Yeah,
like I'm with a druggie up in fucking Canada.
Under the engine block. Meanwhile, it's like Cheech and Chong's up in smoke. The fucking muffler is,
he
blowing
put in the wrong spot.
Weed smoke out of it, right?
And I'm probably 70 years into comedy, and this is a big opportunity for me. And you could have just got me thrown in jail.
Right. No shit.
It's kind of a big deal. But anyway, so we went up, and I forget what show it was, but it was a really good set, and had some people talking to me afterwards.
You had heat, as they call it. Yeah.
I got cock blocked. That was the problem.
Did you?
Yeah.
By who?
By
throw someone on
the guy who owned the Improv, Bud Friedman, his son.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Who's over the years has been involved in Last Comic Standing.
Oh, really?
And many Jay Leno show. He was the booker for Jay Leno.
Oh, really?
These people just keep circling.
Stay in the.
So he pissed me off because he talked to me for so long, but then never talked to me out. He never called me back. But I had people standing in the wings, and I never got to talk to him. So he caught.
So he monopolized all your time, and then nothing
never
came of it.
Up with me.
Oh, that sucks.
It does suck. Yeah. But another one was in that San Francisco comedy tour. We did a church. I said, we're going to do a church tonight. It was a different venue all the time. We were kind of looking at them like, that's going to suck. It was a 3,000 seat church out in the middle of some almost like winery type area.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. Everyone came. It literally was 3,000. Most people have ever performed for. We all had really good sets. That was a memorable night.
Who else do you remember who else was on the show?
Well, it was Stanhope. It was Dane Cook, Dwight Slade, Jimmy Dore. You know Jimmy Dore?
Yeah.
Have you had him on?
No.
Jimmy Dore is one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
Off stage.
Yeah.
I mean, he just kills me. He was roommates with Jackie Flynn.
Oh, was he really?
Yes. And Jackie Flynn, I found out the other day, is a liberal.
Oh,
and
really?
I'm thinking that's from living with Jimmy Dore. He's not a liberal. He's everything. He hates everything. But he's just so political that he probably swung Jackie
to the left.
Yeah. So
I'm just imagining Doug Stanhope at a fucking church.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what I can't get that part out of my mind.
He's drinking all the time.
Yeah.
On stage.
On stage. Doesn't care. Yeah.
But
I did reach out to him to be on the show because he was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. But then he was like, yeah, but I'm not booking anything ahead of time. Because I reached out. I go, hey, man, I'd love to get you on. Because I got a drunken video from him and Eric Hoffer, who used to own the Connection.
Yeah, I remember Eric.
Yeah, Eric is out in Hawaii, and he booked Stanhope out in Hawaii, or he was out in LA, and the two of them sent me a 2 a.m. drunk video call that I still have saved on my phone. And so I know he knows me because I worked with him a bunch of times. And I asked him, and he was like, okay, yeah, I'd love to be on. You ready to go now? It was like 3:00 on a Tuesday. I'm like, no, man, we do it on like a Wednesday. At the time, we were doing this on Wednesday. I'm like, no, we do it on a Wednesday. He goes, yeah, I'm not booking anything out on my calendar in case I want to just like go out into the desert.
Sounds like that.
So I'm like, all right, but I got to reach out to him again because I know he's actually out on the East Coast right now. I think he's doing comics, and he's doing a couple of other places on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I should reach out to him now that he's on our time, and maybe we can just get him to, to
Did you see his cameo on Louis?
No.
You didn't see it? Yeah, that was like Doug just being Doug.
It's just
he
him.
played his friend coming to town or something like that.
Yeah.
that was a mess. It was like, he's just being Doug Stanhope.
Just being himself, right? That's
so during that tour, I believe so they basically average your score every night. So it's almost like a batting race.
Yeah.
If the last night the guy that's ahead of you is like 0.5 ahead of you, it's almost like you need him to completely bomb. Like if he just gets enough laughs, you're not going to pass him.
You're not going to pass him.
But so the top 4 or 5 guys are kind of chumming around because maybe we were just being cocky, but it was me, Dane, Jimmy Dore a little bit, but he kind of fell out and you have to go home after the first week if you don't advance.
Oh.
So one night, I forget if it was Jimmy or someone else says, hey, this other guy's pretty funny. Like we don't watch everyone else, but check this guy out. Well, it was Mitch Hedberg, but early.
Oh, get out.
Early Mitch Hedberg. So I'm like, I'll check him out. And then after you check him out, like this kid's pretty good. Well, little do we know he's going to go past everybody.
Right, right.
Yeah.
What a genius, man. He's another guy. I don't know if someone else did those jokes, if it would work, because with him, it wasn't just the character and it wasn't just the jokes, but put those two together and it was awesome. Like you couldn't see someone else getting away with doing those jokes.
No, because if you don't do it with his inflection and his delivery, you're like, this guy's stupid.
Yeah, right. You
it
have to do it with that
It's
inflection.
sort of like Stephen Wright.
Yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like when this kind of annoys me when comedians don't spend enough time writing at all. Like they barely put any time into it.
Right.
Those guys are examples of how you don't need to be a good performer if you have good material.
Right.
Whereas the opposite doesn't exist. If you go up there and you need the material. You have to have something to say. Yeah. Woody Allen was not a good performer, but you'd listen to him for an hour because his mind is just amazing.
Exactly. Well, you know who was like that around here, and another guy that I need to reach back out to because he said that he would come on. Did you ever work with Jonathan Groff when he was around here?
That rings a bell.
I used to do it.
He's a writer out in LA now.
Now he writes he's like the head writer for Blackish, and he was a writer for the Happy Ending.
Happy Ending.
Yeah. Happy Ending.
I feel like he was with Jonathan Katz. That's
Jonathan Katz, Janine DeTulio.
Yeah,
they were all like clever Boston comics. He was one of those guys that didn't have a lot of stage presence, but his material was hilarious. Yeah. So you could see he wasn't comfortable on stage. Yeah. I don't think, and I don't know, I'm putting words in his mouth, but he was one of those guys where you could still see though he's hilarious. His material is hilarious. It's almost like if you wrote that shit for someone who loved performing, they'd be a superstar.
Yeah. I always felt Brian Kiley was like that too.
Brian Kiley,
because he's not an over the top performer. He's not. He doesn't have crazy antics, but his writing is so spot on.
Yeah,
that it's hilarious. He reminds me of that as well.
You ever see Jonathan Katz crowd work bit?
No.
He says, yeah, I do some crowd work. I'm not known popularly for it, but I'm pretty good at it. Like, I'll try it out over here. And he just says, what do you do for work? And as the person says, so he goes, go fuck yourself. And he just throws out like 3 or 4 insults, and that's it.
And that's it. That's his crowd work. But it's funny because you have a stage presence that isn't like them, where you're not necessarily all over the place. You're not Dane Cook, but you have people are drawn to watch you, even though you're not moving all over the stage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My favorite joke of yours, and I don't even know if you still do it, it's because it's so
I hope I like this joke.
I love this joke. And I don't, like I said, I don't know if you still do it. You're like, yeah, we got Boston has the oldest public transit authority, public transit, and the Green Line is the oldest one. That's not fucking paint. That's moss. Do you still do that one?
I don't.
Oh,
but
I used to
finish
love
it.
that one.
I think the
Go
Green
ahead.
Line is that heap of shit that runs from Cleveland Circle and winds up in some old man's basement, which is a slight upgrade from the Orange Line, which picks you up in Forest Hills and drops you off in the middle of a fucking knife fight. But I forgot the part you said. I don't remember that.
That's not green paint. That's moss.
Okay,
that was it. I love that joke.
Yeah.
That was.
You have a couple that I love, and one, and I'll screw your joke up completely. But when you talk about
It's all right. I just
shoplifting with your son, and you say it's an awful feeling as a parent when you find out your kid's not good at something. That's such a great line in that moment. And then the other one is when he plays so much
video games
when he comes down and he's seeing the war on TV and he goes, they don't know what it's like out there. Really, why don't you grab a juice box and head back to the front line?
I know.
You delivered that pretty well over there. I think he's been doing this.
He's been doing it. Yeah,
I did it last Friday night.
No,
as a matter of fact.
it's funny because I thought of something similar. We all think alike. Something similar. I thought about my kid thinking he's all hot and cool on Fortnite, and it's like you're not cool until you were the fifth kid laying in a row on the ground while your friend was jumping an Evil Knievel ramp on his bike. That was being tough, not fucking Fortnite. You know,
and it's funny because Ace and I lately we've done a few open mics again, and we've been kind of challenging.
Me too.
We've been challenging each other
it is fun
to go up there and just do stuff you've never done before and do new stuff and everything like that. And I find that lately I've been talking a lot about growing up in the 70s and comparing it to kids now, because when I started I talked about having little kids, but my kids are all adults now, so I'm talking about other stuff. So I'm talking about when I was growing up and the shit that we had to deal with and everything. And it's I talked about building bike ramps and stuff like that kids don't do this shit anymore.
I feel like and I tell a lot of these young comedians that it's a lot harder for them because there's fewer open mics. And I'm doing them. None of them are very good. They're loud.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are just talking and it's acceptable. Remember that we had
when we started
to go to
and
comedy
people,
rooms.
But people used to go to open mics to see the next rising star.
Right.
They didn't go to open mics because the mozzarella sticks were half price that night. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of comics up there.
Well, a lot of open mics now are like when we went to Boomerangs, it's a bar where someone says, hey, can we do comedy? And they plug it in, and the people sitting at the bar didn't even know there was going to be comedy that night.
And the problem is, like we were talking about it, I'm so worried about bombing at an open mic that I had forgotten because I hadn't been to an open mic in so long. And then I walked in and I saw new comics. And then I'm like, oh, even my worst fucking material is going to be better than some of theirs.
But bombing in front of them would be horrible.
Well, that's what we were worried about.
Right.
Because we walk in and the new guys are like, oh, those are guys that work all the time. And then we get up and bomb in front of them. They're like, really? They work all the time? You don't want to be that guy. But we figured when you've been doing it for a while, hopefully you have enough of a skill set that if things aren't going well, you can pull together enough stuff. You have enough skills to survive that moment where they don't have that yet. But that's what we always worried about. You don't want to bomb in front of the new guys that are looking at you like, oh, this is the man right there.
And I went up and did material that it was a combination of new material and then some material that I had retired a while ago. But I'm like, I didn't retire it because like I had an HBO special and I needed to. I retired it because I wrote more stuff and then,
But you want to see if it still works.
Yeah, you want to see if it still works. And so I get off stage. I go, dude, I don't know how much time I did. Was that like 4 minutes? He goes, dude, it was like 13 minutes you just did.
Well, in all fairness, the show starts and I text him. I go,
that's the other thing. Yeah.
They put us both on the list tonight. He goes, okay. And I go look at the list, and he's on third. I'm on like seventh because they spread us out a little bit.
He didn't tell me that though.
And so I said to the guy that's running it, I said, "Hey, Ace is on his way. If he doesn't make it, throw me up. third,
Yeah.
and he could do my spot. Well, he walks in
After being out all day, it was Sunday fun day. I was out at the water drinking, having a blast. I walk in.
He's walking in as the person before his third spot is walking off, and the guy that's hosting just goes, and our next comic is here, ladies and gentlemen.
He goes, our next comic, is he here? Is he walking in?
Oh, yeah.
He goes, Ace Aceto. I was literally walking over to a booth where him and Rhonda Corey worked so I could sit down and like write out what I wanted to do.
He literally walked in and walked on stage.
I was like, can I get a water at least? And I ended up doing the material, but I saw the guy before me and I was like, okay, I feel pretty confident that even the worst fucking joke that I'm going to tell is going to be better than.
In all fairness,
it was the guy in the wheelchair that was offensive as fuck. It wasn't Tyler Hittner.
We didn't interrupt and volunteer to go before you because Rhonda Corey and I were.
Oh yeah, you guys wanted
like,
to watch
I gotta watch Ace get out of this.
Yeah, they wanted to watch me battle.
That is a comic stream.
Of course, we love watching our friends bomb, right? Yeah. I'll never forget. I did a show with Mary Ellen DiPetrillo one time, and I had been on a streak. I had worked with her, and I was crushing. And then I had a show where I just bombed. She was on the ground laughing. The mighty Ace Aceto has fallen. I'm like, only a friend would do that, though.
You were Rich Aceto that night.
I was Rich Aceto that night. I did not. Yeah, I was like,
should I write the check? I'll make it out to Rich.
Yeah, make it out to Rich. Yeah, that ain't worth the Ace name.
There's a kid in my town. He's like 22 years old, and he just started doing comedy. And it's not the kid we met.
Oh, all right.
This is another kid that's done it even less than him.
Oh.
He's done it 3 times now. And he reached out to me on Facebook. My wife actually taught him in 4th grade.
Yeah.
He reached out to me and I said, hey, call John Parada. He's got a bunch of open mics.
Yeah.
I said, he goes, what advice do you have? I go, stage time.
Just keep getting up on stage. Right.
That's right now. That's your biggest thing is just keep getting on stage. I'm not like you where it's like, yay, just because you're funny in front of your friends. I'm like, no, just go do it. Go bomb and just go do it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can find out, really.
No, I know. I'm just a little more.
So I
nurturing.
saw him the other night at a bar, and I'm having a beer with him, and because he wants to put together this show, and he goes, "Yeah, I've done 3 shows now, 3 open mics, and I killed at all of them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "This kid has a bomb coming."
Yep, it's only a matter. It's either show 4 or show 5, but it's coming.
And I said that to him. I go, "You know that this is cyclical." I go, even after 20 years, I'll do 2 or 3 shows that go fantastic, and then I have one that's like, "Ooh, that was rough."
That was rough.
It's gonna happen. Don't think that you're walking into this like I'm the Michael Jordan of comedy because you're getting laughs at these open mic nights. It's gonna come.
It's gonna happen, and I hope I'm there to watch.
Exactly.
The next thing I said to him is, "When's the next time when you're on stage?" Because
I gotta be there. Because it's only a matter of time.
It's gonna happen.
I know. So I didn't ask you in the beginning. Did you grow up around Boston?
Yeah, Dedham.
Dedham. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know Dedham.
I grew up in Dedham, and then I lived in a street with a ton of kids that lived. So we just played sports all day, and then we moved like 4 streets up. My dad his dream house was 4 streets up. He's still in that.
Really?
House. So my parents still live in Dedham. Yeah.
Wow.
4 streets away.
Yeah.
They didn't have far to go for the dream house.
For the dream house. No shit. Any siblings?
I have a brother who's a PI.
Oh, really?
And a sister who lives in New Mexico and is a psychologist.
And where do you fall in?
I'm the middle.
The middle. It's always, we've been doing this 5.5 years. It's never the firstborn.
Yeah.
Firstborn is never the funny.
I think it's been 5 people in the past 5 years that have been the firstborn. It's always the middle child or the youngest.
Wow.
Because we were screaming for attention.
Occasionally and only.
Yeah. And occasionally and only. Yeah, Tom Carter said it. He goes, yeah, my brother's an admiral. My father was a neurosurgeon, and here I am telling dick jokes on stage. You know?
we noticed in the we do a soccer podcast called Soccer Heads New England.
Yeah,
there's a ton of goalies in the comedy scene. That do comedy.
That do comedy,
which we've kind of figured kind of makes sense because that's the position where you sort of step outside the box, do something different.
Right.
And then comedy is something
stepping outside of the box and doing something different.
That's weird.
Like Who Wants to Be Goalie? That kid that raises his hand is a good chance he's going to do something different down the line, and comedy is certainly different.
Yeah,
that is so strange because I coached girls soccer when my daughters were younger, and my daughter was a goalie, and we went to New England Revolution soccer camp, and I basically sat there with a pad and watched all the drills that they did to teach goalies how to be goalies, and I would brought all that back, and I trained all the goalies on the soccer team for years. So that's kind of weird.
There's Bjork, there's Mastrangelo, Pat Collins.
Really?
I think
All
someone
goalies?
said Dave Lamb. There's like 7 or 8 of them. So,
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the others, but we've compiled quite a list. I mean, Roberti is
Jim
who I
Roberti.
mentioned.
Yeah.
This is college goalie at UMass Boston.
Really?
Radigan didn't play a lot, but he played in high school. He was a goalie.
Wow. Yeah, we've had Radigan on. We should have Roberti on. I've
we haven't had
in a
him on
while.
yet. Yeah.
Have you ever been on Kevin Flynn's podcast? Because he does a soccer podcast.
I know.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
have
was
to
just
reach out
saying
to him.
because
I
that's
haven't.
what he was, like a professional soccer player.
Yeah,
before.
I played against him. He was really good.
Did you really?
Yeah, he handled me that day.
Did he?
I was coming off a knee injury,
Yep.
a knee surgery,
Oh, all right.
but it didn't matter. Like he was just
He
way
was still all
stronger.
around.
He played Division 1. I played Division 2. He was just better than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and even at that level, as good as he wasn't quite good enough to play in the NASL. But I mean, you can just see the level of talent
Right.
in anything that you do.
Yeah. Oh, we see that. I mean, we see it in comedy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What about that kid? Didn't you say there was a kid at an open mic night that was like, when do I get paid?
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
This was a kid that got up basically on a dare by his friends.
Yeah.
You know, and he got up there and only made his friends who went with him laugh.
Didn't
Everyone
even make
else
the
is
rest
like,
of the crowd
really?
laugh.
Yeah.
And then he gets off stage and he goes up to the guy that's booking it and he goes, I think that went well. When do I start getting paid?
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
What? Yeah, right.
Hey, gotta have balls, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, put them out there.
It's funny though. I'm gonna drop a name and I don't care, but I just listened to Mark Maron's podcast it was from a couple of weeks ago, and he had Orny Adams on.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of someone
Is
who
he
like
from Rhode Island?
has the balls. No, Orny was from Boston.
Massachusetts area.
He was from Massachusetts. And I'm listening to Maron's intro of him. And he's like, yeah, I don't know why. I just never liked this guy. I don't know why. He just fucking annoyed me. And I don't even know why. I don't know why. I can't even pinpoint why. And I'm sitting there the whole fucking episode going, I know. It was the same thing when he worked with me. He was always on the verge of something big. He was always like, why aren't I headlining? How come I'm not headlining? How come Nardizzi's headlining? I just talked to Disney Touchstone last week. It's like, well, do you just as funny as, and he's a great comic. Don't get me wrong. He's funny, but you know better than so many other people in Boston. Like, calm down.
Do you remember comedian Jerry Seinfeld's thing?
Exactly.
When he's sitting in the green room.
He claimed he was playing up the character. And I'm like,
Whatever.
no, dude, that was you.
You saw that, right?
What was it called?
Comedian Jerry
The
Seinfeld
Jerry
did the
Seinfeld
documentary.
Yeah. It was like 20 years
The part
ago.
I'm talking about was Orny Adams is sitting in the green room with Jerry's manager. I'm going blank. Legendary manager. George Shapiro.
Yeah.
Because George said he would take him on for a little while, and he was doing Montreal just for laughs. And Barry Katz sticks his head in.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know, I've been trying to tell this guy for years, you know, the way Barry talks. He goes that, you know, you're always talking about you did this, you did that, bragging about this and that. Just let the act speak for itself. All the best comics, just let the act speak for itself. And Barry Katz walks away, and Orny Adams goes, what the hell does he know? You know,
Barry fucking Katz.
George Shapiro looks at him and goes, that's Barry Katz. Do you know who he manages? and Orny's like, yeah, like he's done anything. And I'm like, do you know who you're talking about right now?
Is he still doing comedy?
He is. He's out in LA. I mean, listen, he's a legit.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great comic. I've seen some of his clips. He's very, very funny. The problem with Orny isn't when he's on stage. It's when he's off stage.
Well, in that same documentary,
insufferable.
they're in his apartment and he goes, I've written so much material. Look at this. You got a Jewish show? Look, I got a whole notebook on Jewish material. I got a whole notebook on fishing. And you're like, this guy's a psychopath.
You know what it is? He's one of those people, and I got to give him credit for this because he said it even in the thing, and even Mark admitted this. He's driven.
Yeah.
He's just fucking driven, though, that it's annoying to everyone around him. And again, on stage, he is hilarious. Off stage, he's annoying as fuck.
Well, because the way he sells him constantly is selling himself, and
if you
he's
listen,
very braggadocious.
And if you listen to the podcast, he tries to clear it up, but it's still orny underneath.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for Marin at the outro to go, yeah. Now I know why I'm fucking annoyed by him, but he didn't say it, you know?
It's an insecurity thing.
It's totally
It's
an insecurity thing, but he shouldn't be because he is a legitimately funny comic.
Right.
You know?
But he's not at the level he feels he should.
I'll never forget. We were both on a show. We were doing the Comedy Palace.
In Andover?
Where was that?
It was the Aku Aku.
Oh, Worcester.
In Worcester. It was in Worcester.
Yeah.
It was the Comedy Palace had the place up in Andover at the Grill 93, and then they had the
Aku Aku.
The Aku Aku. And it was me, Orny, and someone else was headline, maybe Tony V or some, like a legit headliner. And I was put in the feature spot, and Orny was so pissed that I was in the feature spot. He's like, I don't understand. Like, I just talked to Disney Touchstone last week. I don't understand why I'm not featuring on this show. And that was it was like, dude, come on.
Right. And then you're uncomfortable. And then you feel like
now I feel like an asshole. Now I feel like I got to up him to show him that I'm just as funny. It was stupid, But it was funny hearing Marin. So you got to listen to the intro because Marin basically shits on him and says how annoying he is. And then he talks to him for an hour. And I'm like, Orny, you just proved his point,
Well, that's what I like about Marin is he will call people out.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I don't know why I don't like this guy.
He did it when he had
don't.
he did it when he had Carlos Mencia on.
Yeah.
He did it when he had what's his name on that smashes the fruit in front of everybody.
Gallagher.
Gallagher walked out on him.
He walked out on him. Yeah.
Walked out on him because he was asking him questions about being an asshole and everything like that. And Gallagher got up and walked out.
Yeah.
He's not. Marin's not afraid to ask them the tough questions and call them out on stuff. And I'll give him credit for that.
I do.
Well,
you should, because he's like one of the top podcasts.
Bill Hicks had a joke about Gallagher. He said, people, he's smashing this fruit, and people say, oh, you're just jealous because you didn't think of it.
Yeah.
He says, I did think of it. I was 6 at the time.
I loved Hicks.
The thing about Gallagher, I love Gallagher. I loved him growing up in the 80s and watching his specials. But you know what? Yes, the end of the show was smashing the fruit, but the rest of his stuff was social commentary, and it was funny jokes. It was good writing. It was, and now it would sound hacky, but back then it was the 80s. So when he was like, why do we drive on a freeway and why does it cost money to drive on a freeway?
I kind of recall.
Why do we drive on a parkway and park in a driveway?
He wasn't one of my favorites, but I do remember not thinking his set was terrible.
No, it was social commentary. Each special was social commentary, but he would end it with the stupid, Fruitomatic or whatever the fuck it was. That was the big Sledge-O-Matic, the big hammer. People loved it. People brought plastic to put over themselves. That was his gimmick.
That little bit is almost like what Blue Man Group is.
Yeah,
right.
And Blue Man Group, for me, I hate it. I didn't get it.
Yeah,
and so I didn't like his ending either. It's just everything.
But the rest of his act was actually kind of, at the time, it was good material. It wasn't hacky material. It was good.
Did you ever do Tommy's Comedy Lounge when that was open for the short time that it was?
Where is that?
It was the old Nick. Was it the old Nick?
It was down the street. It was the old Nick's at the Charles Playhouse.
It was the old Connection.
Oh, so I played it when it was the Playhouse, but it was Tommy's.
They called it Tommy's Comedy Lounge for a while.
When Tobin first bought
and
it.
You were told when you were booked there that listen, we share this space with Blue Man Group.
Oh yeah, I do remember.
And they cut through sometimes.
Yeah,
and you don't comment.
So you can't make fun of the Blue Man
Don't say
Group.
anything. So I'm there one night, and I forgot who I was there with. I was featuring, and all of a sudden they literally walk right across the room,
in front of the stage,
and you can't say anything,
and the entire crowd is watching them leave. They're no longer looking at what's going on in the show, and I'm just like, yeah, we're not. I go, don't worry, folks, we're not commenting on that. We're not going to talk about it at all.
Yeah, you have
know,
to point it out.
because you got to
that.
say something to get them to look back at you at
Yeah.
this point, because they're like watching them go through the side door and everything. These blue guys just walk
Yeah.
through the
Walk
place.
through. You're not supposed to acknowledge it.
If you could take a picture of those stupefied fans, that's me at Blue Man Group.
Yes.
Like everyone else around me is laughing hysterically.
And
My
you're
wife
going,
and I
what
are
the
like,
fuck is going on?
why don't we get this? And then the toilet paper starts coming down. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm lost. That's funny, toilet paper, but
Right.
to each his own.
They made
Oh yeah.
gobs and gobs of money doing it. I
Yeah.
don't even think it's still the 3 original guys that are doing it. They probably
Doesn't matter.
licensed it out to a bunch of other people to do it. You know?
Well, that's like the show Defending the Caveman.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but
I saw it.
haven't
I
seen
saw
it.
it when I went to Vegas one time.
There's a
Is it
one-man
hacky?
show.
And it's not bad. It's
Yeah.
okay. But the guy that wrote it originally
Yeah.
doesn't do it anymore.
No,
He basically
he licenses
he
it
licenses
out, right?
it out, and they
Yeah.
do it all over the country
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
So it's basically people acting out his play that he wrote is what it is.
Okay.
So before we get to the funny bad gig story that you want that we
Mm.
started talking about, I want to tell you. So there was one night we worked together. It was a Radigan gig. It was a fundraiser for like American Cancer Society or something. But it was one of those things where we've talked about it before, where like we are put in some of the most uncomfortable situations, like places where comedy shouldn't be. If
But
you're
so
having,
far, this sounds like an okay gig.
yeah,
And no, it does.
Uh,
A fundraiser is usually very easy.
but it's a fundraiser where it's a gala event where it's not a comedy night. We're just part of the event.
Okay.
If
I don't
it's
remember this.
If
but-
it's a comedy night fundraiser, absolutely everyone's there to see comedy.
Yeah.
If it's a gala event where they've got auctions and raffles and everyone's in fucking evening gowns and they go, hey, we got these 3 clowns to come up on stage while you're eating dinner.
all right.
All right. It was me, you, and Bob Seibel.
Okay.
You had to go up first because you had another gig somewhere. You went up, they were okay, but it's the worst I've ever seen you do.
What town was
Personally, I think it was at the like Marriott it was in North Andover. So there's like a couple of hotels across the highway from the old Grill 93 or the Chalet it's called now. There's a couple of hotels over there. It was in one of those hotels in
Okay.
North Andover. You had an okay set, but again, for me seeing you crush for years and years and years, it wasn't a good set for you. I go up, horrible set. No one's fucking listening. They're all clinking, beat this shit, right? And I'm like, all right, but I don't feel so bad because Nardizzi didn't do
Great.
what he normally does.
Right.
Well, then they all finish dinner and Seibel goes up. He gets a fucking standing ovation at the end.
Really?
Like it was almost like, okay, we're done eating. Let's watch the comedy show. There were 2 other fucking comics on
Right.
before this guy. Seibel is literally like bowing at the end, soaking it all in. He goes, oh my God, they're so great. I go, fuck you, Bob. They just killed me and Paul. But
Well-
you weren't even there at that point because you had another gig.
Well, I said I
that
did.
you
I
were
just wanted to
close-
get the hell
Yeah,
out
you
of it.
probably did.
You're learning this years later. I
Yeah,
made that
thanks,
shit up.
Thanks, man.
He
thanks.
did that to me one time too. It
He
was
made me
him, and
feel good.
Stephanie
I'm like,
Peters.
wait a minute. I'm
And he went on
featuring
first.
I'm featuring in front of after Nardizzi. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh, it's only because he has another gig. No, he just wanted to get the fuck out of there. I don't blame you.
I'm learning his trick now too because I ate my dick after going on after him.
Yeah.
Well, at least I had the decency to leave. I had a guy tell me he didn't want to follow me,
Yep.
which I don't know why people can't just say I have trouble following you. It's not a
Right.
big deal. Like
Yeah.
I never liked following Dan Cook. He's impossible. to
Yeah.
follow.
Right.
Yeah.
He's so high energy.
So high energy.
Right.
I mean, he would double kill.
Yeah.
Like literally, I could make someone fall out of their chair once every 10 years. He's got rows of people falling out of
their
Yeah.
chair. And I used to say that. That's the difference with Dane. He was the same high energy in front of 25 people at the 400-seat Comedy Connection on a Wednesday night
Yeah.
as he was at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
He never phoned it in.
Yeah.
You know?
So this guy says, "Can I go on before you? I gotta head home and get some family thing." And then this is at Nick's.
Yeah.
When I finish my set, he's drinking at the fucking bar.
If you're gonna
You
lie,
look
at
like a
least
fucking dick. You realize what a dick you
Right.
look like?
I
right
have
now?
family
Exactly.
stuff. But first, let me get
Yeah.
cocked.
Yeah.
Hey,
if
who
you're gonna
was it?
lie,
Let's-
play
let's
the
out
whole
him.
thing out.
Let's out him.
I'm not gonna mention it.
No, I'm kidding. It's so funny. You mentioned Larry Rapucci a little while ago, and I never got to work with him for whatever reason. You know how like you work with some people all the time. Like I worked with you all the time at the Connection. I used to work with DJ Hazard and Mike McDonald and Donovan, but I never worked with Gavin. I never worked with Sweeney. I've worked with Gavin once and Sweeney twice in my whole 33 years. But I never got to work with Larry. But when Tom Cotter was on, he told a story about Larry at a college.
One of the best stories
It's
I've ever
one of
heard.
the best stories ever on this podcast. He goes, yeah, we're doing this thing, and it was for a college, and what they were doing was it was what was it? It was about
they were fundraising to bring awareness
about rape
about
on campus.
You know,
Did you ever hear this story?
No, well, I
yeah,
forgot it if I did.
about sexual assault
Assaults
on college campus.
Which is this. But let's back up. We're gonna laugh in a minute, but this is a serious concept. We're not laughing at the concept. We're laughing at what this guy said.
We're laughing at the booking selection.
We're looking at the yes, exactly.
I'm laughing. We laughed at the audacity and the balls of the comment the person made.
Yes, exactly. So what happened was before the comedy show, they would have a female student come up and talk about her story. And then I don't know if they had like her essay or something. Which is
a great lead in for a comedy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But then they would put it up. They put it up on the stage behind them. So all these women come up and it was a t-shirt. They would
put a t-shirt up on the stage behind them. So they had these rows of t-shirts of all these assaults.
Picturing Larry in the wings going,
all the stories. And Tom Cotter goes, Larry Rapucci goes out, and his opening line is, wow, if you get raped enough in this college, they retire your jersey. I can only imagine what that fucking place must have been like.
Did he then do a set?
I think he did a set, but I actually didn't Cotter say, no, this is over.
The guttural groan from the crowd. He goes, it wasn't even something that sounded human. He goes, it was just so awkward. And literally, like, it didn't even take 30 seconds. The woman that was running the show just came out and said, show's over.
Show's over. That's it. Show's
they
done.
Just stopped.
Larry eventually got banned for some anti-Semitic thing at a Jewish group.
Oh, really?
And I was
Shocking.
I was in the office at Nick's when the calls were coming in because I was talking to Rita at the time.
Yeah.
The calls. I mean, people were irate. The phones were.
They're calling Nick's because of it.
We're selling tickets. No, we're not.
Oh my
God. Ticket sales. But his act was really funny. He had some really
and
crazy
what
bits.
happened to him? Because now people are like, hey, is Larry Rapucci still alive? Yeah, you could find him. His real name is this. And
I didn't know he changed his name, but I know he was in Iowa doing some radio in the mornings, and then he did something else. And I thought he was in the Midwest. I mean, I think Jack Lynch and Joe Carroll are probably the closest to him.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on. I'd love to get Todd Parker on too, because I don't know. Does Todd still do comedy?
No, he's an artist of some sort.
Oh, okay. But I'd love to get him on too, because he was another guy that like was coming up around the same time as me, but I was in Rhode Island, he was in Boston.
Yeah.
And but I think I probably did a couple of shows with him, but he's another guy that I'd love to get on.
I was just reminded of a show I did with Paul where I did something that caused the crowd not to be happy. It was myself, you, and Larry Miles. And I think it was in Sharon, Mass area, around Sharon, Mass. It was a fundraiser for the school. And I was only a couple of years in. And I had this really hacky joke I did of what men look like when they have an orgasm. And it wasn't a socially acceptable impression that I did of what men look like in that moment. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that it was a school for kids with special needs. And I didn't realize that they had some of the adult students at the table.
Is this the one where someone yelled out?
No, that was a totally different story. And I go up and I'm going along and the set's going okay. And I'm like, I'm closing with that joke. And I do it.
Because it's killer. It's killer, Jerry.
You could hear the compressor in the air conditioner kicking in at the end of the joke. And it was like so ugly silent. And I bring Paul up. And as he's coming up on stage, he goes, way to read the audience. And I'm like, I'm walking off stage shell shocked. Like, how did I turn him so quick? And then I walked it back. And Larry Miles goes, "Did you not notice the table in the back?" And I look in the back, and there's
And it's
this
all
whole
special needs
room of these
kids.
special
Oh,
needs adults. And I'm like,
Well, that bit you did it so well that people thought you were actually having an orgasm.
yeah.
That was
Either
rough.
that, or they thought I was one of the students actually doing the whole thing was a
man.
show for a school for people with special needs.
Oh, you
I didn't
asshole.
know going up there.
Of course not.
So now I do a little research before I go in.
Yeah, it's always good to do.
But it was just the way you looked at me and go, "Way to know your audience."
Did I pull out of the hole, or was I in a hole for a little bit because of your?
Because of your indiscretion.
No, you did fine.
Yeah.
You within like two minutes you had them. You were going, but it was. I was like, oh, I felt bad because of the way I left the stage. I felt bad because I drove all the way home just in that. That pit in your stomach. That I can't believe I just did.
Paul
that
got
to
up on
me.
stage and said, "How about a hand for Scott Higgins? What a fucking retard."
Well, actually, I did a show once, and special needs kids were there, and they said,
Yeah.
"Don't talk about retarded people." And I said,
Right.
I said, "Why would I even do that?"
Right.
What I forgot was that I say, like what you just said a
Yeah.
couple times in my act, and that
And you don't even think about it in
Right.
that context.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just calling someone stupid.
Yeah.
Not meaning
Right.
developmentally challenged. I know. Yeah.
and again, the
Stan-
phone lines are ringing up
Yeah, yeah.
in the
No.
offices at Nick's.
Stan, it's funny. Stanhope does a whole bit, and he used to do a bit about that, about how as times change, like certain words become bad, but like you used to be called a moron because that is the classification of someone with an IQ of like 50 to 65.
Yeah.
So they used to call them morons. Then moron became bad. Then it was mentally retarded because retarded means delayed.
Yeah.
And then that was the acceptable thing. Then all of a sudden people started using the word retard, and that became unacceptable. So it's like, in 30 years, are we going to say, "Oh, he's developmentally challenged"? You're fucking awful.
Right.
Like, is that going to be the bad word eventually? Like, what is it
It
going to
would be nice if they made these decisions with us in mind.
Yeah,
Because
exactly,
no
with
offense,
comics.
But
Yeah.
retarded is a funny word.
It's a
It
funny
is.
word.
The way you can say it.
Exactly.
They never think of us.
And especially in Boston and Rhode Island because of the way we say it.
Yeah.
Because it's not retarded, it's retarded.
Right.
It's different, But no, it is. And I get it. No, I had a cousin. My great uncle was very, very involved in
I
the
thought you were
development
going to say
of
very, very
challenge.
retarded.
No, he was very involved. He
I was
had
like,
a
I've heard of retarded, not very, very retarded.
I was gonna go. That's a different classification.
trying to dig
retarded.
myself out of a hole.
I had an uncle that was very, very
no.
retarded.
His son was mentally challenged, and so he was very involved in that community and did a lot for them. So I try to be a little more cognizant when I say it. I don't really use that in my act or anything like that.
Can't even say it about your car anymore. Your timing is special needs.
Right, exactly.
His uncle's
Yeah.
tricycle had 4 wheels. That's how retarded he was.
Yeah. All right. My uncle's dead, first of all. But anyway, yeah, no. All right.
Well, no wonder he drove around like a retard.
Man, I'd say Scott will edit this conversation out, but Scott doesn't edit anything.
No, leave it in.
So
Leave it
now
in.
we've gotten
absolutely.
thrown out of the Special Olympics.
Yeah, we won't be recording live at
won't
any
be
Special
recording
Olympics
live.
events.
So let me ask you this. So
Yes.
you started talking about like a bad gig, and we always ask our guest about a funny bad gig story, and that's the gig that it wasn't funny the night of. It made you want to quit comedy. But as you get further away from it, you're talking to other comics in a green room, and everyone's sharing war stories, and you're like, oh, you think that's bad?
Mhm.
Oh wait,
It's your
listen to
one-up
this.
story.
Yeah, it's your one-up story.
Your one-up story.
Well, I can't one up D'Angelo's in the woods, kids getting lost.
Oh,
Story.
the
That's a-
beach. Yeah,
That is
Yeah.
a great
Has it-
story.
Deontay, we love you.
Yeah.
Deontay, did you
They
drown?
keep taking the mic from him.
Yes.
And I can't top. I don't know if he told it Santarelli's turkey story, where he comes. Paul Wayne books him, and he comes to the gig, and there's 5 guys sitting around fully eating turkey, just sitting there with their bellies.
And that was the
distended,
gig?
and that was for those 5 people. Like he tells it. I'm not going to spoil it. He tells it
No.
amazing, but
He told
I'll say it
No,
comes
he
in-
told us about the show he did that got comedy banned.
Rockport,
In Rockport.
Massachusetts.
Really?
Was it Rockport or Randolph?
I thought it was Rockport.
But
Because he
it
goes,
literally,
Rockport,
the town
Massachusetts.
passed an ordinance where comedy was not allowed
Yeah.
in the town.
And he was the only one on the show with the other comedians.
There were other
There was
comedians, but he
who
was
else?
closing it.
but it was his part of the show
Oh.
that got it.
Offensive racist? Or?
No, because
No.
he got in arguments with the crowd.
Oh, okay.
Because the crowd was like coked up. There was like a table in front of
good.
him
Yeah, those are good.
that
Yeah.
had like a bunch of coke heads, and it was one of their birthdays. And then the way Fred tells it, he goes, "Here I am." I'm like, you ruined the show. Get the fuck out. That's it. You and all your friends, get the fuck out. I'm leaving. He goes, there's a door beside the stage. This is where he got up
Mhm.
and came off mic on the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
we're like, Frank, stay on mic.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to tell us the door was over here. He gets off. He's like, yeah, I walked out the door. It's the door to the kitchen. He goes,
So you gotta come
there's
back.
all
He
these
goes, now I'm
Mexican
standing
guys
back
standing
there,
there
like-
staring at me, and I'm waiting for them to clear the room to get them out. And then he goes, I go back out. He goes, and there's one guy sitting at the table. It's the birthday guy. It's the guy that was fucking with me.
Mhm.
I go, how do you feel, buddy? How do you feel?
You
He
fucked
goes,
up the show
You
for everybody.
fucked up the show for everyone. And the guy goes, not good. It's my birthday. This was my birthday party. And he goes, all of a sudden, some old lady from the back goes, you ruined his birthday. He goes, I had to fight my way out. He goes, that's it. Show's over. He goes, I walked off. I'm making my way through the tables. I get out the door. 25 people that just got bounced from the club because of me are waiting at the door.
for him, yeah.
And he goes, I ran. He goes, I ran out to my car.
he goes, I'm fighting my way. to the
fighting my
car."
way out. I'm punching people. He goes, I'm fighting my way out. I get to my car, and the guy whose birthday it was is knocking on the door going, hey, we want to party with you. We want to do coke.
I
Come
know
on.
Mike Clark.
We
I
know
Lenny
Mike,
Clark.
Mike and Lenny Clark. Let's go. We're going to go party. And he's like, I'm rolling up the window going, yeah. He goes, and then I fucking hit the gas and fucking barreled out of the parking lot. That was his
And then he
funny
gets a
back
call
story.
on Monday, like, what the hell happened?
Barry
on Saturday
Katz
night?"
called him, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
He
He's like,
goes,
what
they're
happened?
never doing comedy again there. And then the town passed an ordinance, no more stand-up allowed in town.
So Barry had to call the town
Yeah.
and call the hotel and say, please, we'll try. Let's try it again. We'll get a different comic.
It took him
He
6
goes,
months to get it
6 months to
overturned.
get it overturned. And then the first comic they booked, Teddy Bergeron. He goes, oh yeah, because I'm sure that went great.
So I don't know if I should tell the. Now I'll tell a different story.
You could
then.
tell a couple of
All
them
right.
because we've had
Okay.
people come in with 2 or 3.
Okay, so Dick Doherty books me for the Rolls Royce in Mattapan. Okay, and I've driven by this place for years as a child, looking out going to my grandmother's and just always seeing this Rolls Royce place, never knowing what it is. Well,
Yeah.
it's sort of a dance club, nightclub, but
Yeah.
they're going to try comedy. So Dick says, I need you to pick this comedian up. He's dark-skinned comedian at
Yeah.
Nick's and then drive to Mattapan.
Yep.
So I stupidly tell some of the people at that bank that I work at, them, because they're always like, you're a
I'm
comedian?
playing
You're not
Mattapan,
funny.
yeah.
They don't think you're funny. Well, I'm sitting in a cube.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not doing my act.
Right.
So
You picked the whitest people from the bank to go to
Yeah.
Mattapan, right?
I was the only white person there.
Yeah.
So a few of them come. So I arrive at the place. I'm really intimidated.
Yeah.
The only white person, but I understand how they feel.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So a guy enters with a gun, probably 10, 15 minutes before the show, and he comes running through the club with a gun, and they all hit the deck, which I just found out a month ago why you hit. I didn't even realize why you would hit the deck. It's because if you're shooting, you want to be low.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's what you do. So, I don't. This is like a
Where'd you grow
drill
up?
for them.
Where did you grow up?
In Dedham.
Oh, in Dedham. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Not a lot of people running through places
Yeah.
and with guns in Dedham.
So as he's running through, he knows the cops are coming behind him,
Right.
like 20 yards behind him. So he shuts the lights off.
Oh my
So now it's
God.
dark and everyone's on the thing.
On the floor,
And I
and
hear
he's
s-
waiting for the cops to come in.
Yeah. So you hear the cop come in. Where'd he go? And some people went into a closet. So I
Yep.
thought, well, that sounds safe. I'll
Yeah.
go in the closet. So I start to pull the door open. I hear, "We're in here, motherfucker." I'm like,
You ain't getting.
so I just lay down on the floor.
Yep.
The lights come back on. The owner comes over. Sorry about that. My heart's like this.
Yeah. Right.
And he says, "You ready to go?" And I was like, ready to go. Like I thought the night was over. You're gonna just close the bar and everyone's gonna go home.
Exactly.
No, in Mattapan they call that Tuesday.
Yeah,
that guy was the opening act.
right. Like we just survived almost getting shot. Let's just go home.
Let's just go home.
No, we're doing
and
the
hug
show.
our kids. Yeah, right.
So I said, give me a couple minutes.
Yeah, I need to
You know?
collect my
Typical
thoughts.
booker. You're not getting paid unless you go on.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I go on stage. My opening joke back then was I'm half Irish, half Italian. I eat good meals, shit-faced.
Yep.
And I say I'm half Italian, half Irish. And a guy yells, we're black, motherfucker.
Yeah.
The crowd laughs at that.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
So now I'm in a hole.
Yeah.
I try another joke. Nothing. I try a third joke. Nothing. Then I'm hearing the little cat calls. So I probably did about 6 minutes. And my banker friends are here, and they're probably thinking, we told you you're not funny. We tell you this every day in work.
Right.
I bring him on. He's a hero.
Yeah, of course.
He kills.
Yeah. Yep.
I have to stay because I have to collect the money and leave with it.
Ugh.
So my banker friend walks me to my car with a sack of money. This is like the worst night of my life.
Right.
I actually just went back there. It's a different name now.
Yeah.
A guy named Wendell something
Yeah.
booked some Tuesday night Tickle Me Tuesdays
Yeah.
at that club.
At that club.
And I was like, I told him the story. I said, I'm back here.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I ate it again.
Did you really?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't the
Oh,
only
my
one.
God.
Everyone on the show. It was a
Everyone
Tuesday
ate
night.
it.
There was only about 15 people.
Right.
And they
right.
weren't even seated together. It was scattered all over the
Scattered
place.
all over.
People were eating burgers and fries, and they didn't care about the con. But it
Right.
was like, this room is just,
It's cursed.
yeah,
It's just
it's
cursed.
cursed. I want to do it again.
Yeah.
The third time
Yeah.
I'll get some laughs. I mean, I got a couple chuckles, but it
Right.
just didn't work. The other story is I'm on the Vineyard, and I'm with Kevin Knox and Spike Tobin.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we're working for, I think, Pretty Polly. They used to book college.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty Polly.
Pretty Polly. Yeah.
So we're at this little cabin, and we're supposed to call the club, and he's supposed to come out and pick us up, or we can take a cab over. But, Noxie's in rare form with drinking. I'm not going to worry about it.
Don't worry about
He
it.
kept saying, there's no show without us. I can't do the show without us. Drink. Oh, woo. Come on, Paul. So he's doing his thing.
Come
and all
on,
of a sudden,
Paul. How's your cock? How's your cock?
Spike and I are a little bit more
Yeah.
responsible at
Right,
this point.
right.
He's got a few in him. It's like, Kevin, we probably should. Like, we don't even know
Let's
how
head
far it is.
over,
It's like
right.
30 minutes. Should we call him? Hey, Paul, there's no show without us. Get no show. What are we going to do? So I call the place, and the guy's pissed. He's like, where are you? I said, well, we're back at the place. Well, the show's in 30 minutes. We're 20 minutes to get you, and we're going to be
Right.
I'm like, well, can you come get us?
Right. We
So
were
the guy
waiting for
comes,
you. Yeah.
Gets us, drives us over. Noxie's legless. Spike, I think, doesn't drink at the time.
No.
I've got a few in me. And we make this pact that we're all going to tell at least one lobster joke. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
A lobster, just take it.
Oh, somewhere there's
Come
a
up with it on the
lobster
fly,
in it.
and it's
Yeah.
got to be. So the show starts, and Spike does some crazy lobster bit.
Yep.
I have that Buckner bit.
Yeah, the Buckner bit,
Yeah.
right, with
where
the
Buckner
lobster
pisses
hanging
in
out
the
of his
ball.
ass.
Well, that's where the lobster. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
he's running around. He used to just run around the field and say, "I love cornflakes."
Yep.
Well, now he's got a lobster up his ass, and he says he goes home and tells and says that the guy's got crabs the size of house pets. That's where that came from.
That's where it came from.
So
was
that
gig?
night, I was like, I got a whole new,
Yeah,
addition to the bit.
I got a new
This
bit.
worked good. Noxie goes up and does about 9 minutes.
On lobsters?
On lobsters?
No, just 9 minutes.
Oh,
That's
nice.
a couple of repeat jokes. Spike and I are fucking dying. He's supposed to do 45.
45
he
minutes.
does like 9 minutes. He comes off, and he kind of looks at us, and then he realizes, oh, and he goes back up, and he goes up to the mic, and he goes, fucking lobsters. That's all
that was it. He wasn't even concerned that he only did 9 minutes. He was concerned he forgot the lobster joke.
And the lobster joke was all it was fucking lobsters. So imagine the crowd thinking like, oh, that was oh, he's back, and then all they hear is fucking lobster, and then he's back off.
And then he gets back off. Oh my
So-
God.
The culmination of the story is on Monday I get a phone call like, what happened at the show? And I'm like, what do you mean? And I said, what do you mean? Like, I thought it went pretty good. Well, they said that you guys didn't do enough time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did my set.
I did my
was
set.
outside,
Spike did his. Yeah.
Someone was smoking us. I was talking to them. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So I called Kev. I said, Kev, Pretty Paulie's a little pissed off. Like, what do you mean? We did some time. You did some time. I did some time. It's fine. Don't worry about His outlook on everything is
Oh my
fucking great.
God, he was
Don't worry
always
about it. We all got some time.
he was always the most positive fucking guy in the room. I loved him. Oh God,
he
The
was
best.
great.
He was the best.
Oh, and then the
It's
next
so funny.
morning, I'm sound asleep, and his foot kicks my door in. Like all you see is the door, and then you see this foot.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
Let's go. It's fucking time to go.
Like time to drink.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Here's a drink. Come on, let's
absolutely,
go. Wow. Like he's already ready to go. It's like 8 a.m.
I don't know how the hell that guy lived the best life. He had a short life, but he lived the best life.
He got the
what
most out of it.
You know what pisses me off though? Every once in a while I see people doing literally word for word his bits, and it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Someone, and I don't even remember who it is, otherwise I'd call him out, but someone does his whole thing about women dancing at a club and doing Muffy, do that dance. Oh, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
You were probably 1 year in when Kevin Knox did that in front of you, and you think it's okay to do because he's not here. That is absolutely fucking horrendous. I hate that.
Yeah, he was a vintage comedian.
And one of the nicest guys too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He could win over any crowd
anyone.
anywhere. We talk about these bad gigs all the time. We did an episode one time where we tried to come up with the top 10 things as comedians when you walk in a room and you know that
10 things that are bad.
Yeah,
that,
you know,
if
if
you
walk
comedian,
in, it's going to be a bad gig. Like, you know,
a sports bar where they're not going to turn the TVs off,
and it's during the Bruins or the Celtics playoffs
or something,
and they're like,
that.
oh, we'll mute it. Oh yeah, that's going to stop people from paying attention to that. You know,
when you get booked for a wedding, you know, just these shit.
How about when you walk in and you see the room and it looks pretty good? It's rectangular, and then you get down to the stage and you realize there's another.
Yes, another side.
Yeah.
Or there's no. Oh, you needed a microphone.
Yeah.
You know, or a light,
or the house system where the microphone is plugged into the wall and there's like a 4-foot cable. So the whole time you're like,
right. With like realistic,
you know,
realistic Radio Shack speakers in the ceiling,
just,
you know,
just the shitty situation.
Kids are at a show, you know, or if it's the worst, one of the worst is when it's a surprise.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no one knows it's going to be a comedy show.
Right, and we're going to introduce you as a nuclear scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
well, if they think I'm that, why would I be funny?
Right. Why would I be at your 50th birthday party as a nuclear scientist? Right. Exactly.
I was doing a golf tournament once, and I heard a guy say, and this is when you know it's going to be a bad show, is, I fucking hate comedians. Not comedy. You don't hate. You hate the people who do the comedy.
Yeah, right. You hate
those
comedians.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not
right there.
And listen, anytime you're doing comedy after golf, it's always going to be. Kelly McFarland told a story about doing a show with Gavin.
Oh my God!
Where she was trying to do it, and you know they were all fucking drunk. They played 18 holes. They're all cocked out of their minds. They're having their steak dinner, and Kelly's up there, you know, all bubbly and trying to do. And then she goes after like 15 minutes. Gavin came up and goes, "Yeah, all right."
You're done.
You're done.
He just
and he didn't do it in a mean way. It was just like, hey, you've put in your time. Let me
because it was the one.
She
said there was one guy that was heckling her,
and he was heckling her, and he was being inappropriate. Yeah,
and Gavin just walks up, and goes, "Yeah, you're done."
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to deal with this shit anymore.
It's just because people think comedy can just be plugged in
anywhere. Right.
Yeah. You know, I had someone reach out to me one time and they're like, yeah, we've been doing karaoke and it's been going well. We wanted to do comedy instead. I said, all right. And they really thought that we'd be able to go up, do 5 minutes, and then they do, you know, like 5 minutes of comedy and then 55 minutes of playing music and drinking and then another 5 minutes of comedy, 55
when
minutes
you're the
of drinking.
intermission.
No.
I literally got 2 offers this week, and I have to get back to them. One is for a surprise birthday party. Always fun, right? No one's going to know. You're the nuclear scientist
popping out of a cake
we hired for this birthday party. The other one is I did a Funny for Fun show a couple of years ago for a local Boy Scout troop to help them raise money because they were going to like the jamboree, the national jamboree, and it was all the adults. And it was a great show, went great. Guy reaches out to me, said, hey, there's going to be a big jamboree, 3,000 scouts and leaders at Fort Adams in Newport. we'd love to have you book a show down here. It's not it wouldn't be a fundraiser. It's just a show for the adult leaders and the scouts. And I'm sitting there going, what the fuck what am I going to book? Like, the only person I could absolutely think of that would do well in front of that crowd, because it's scouts. These kids are fucking 11, is the Prince of Mystery. Because he does magic.
Yeah.
That's the only person I could think of. I don't know what the hell. He goes, we loved you guys. You guys were hilarious. I'm like, yeah, because you're adults. Right. You got my material. A fucking 11-year-old isn't going to get my material.
Scott could do the one where he sounds like he's retarded.
Exactly. That might work.
They would like that.
We'll have you.
A lot of them masturbate.
That.
So
exactly.
They would totally get that.
But it's amazing the situations that we get put in for comedy, because people think, oh, let's lighten the mood with comedy.
Yeah.
Well,
it's also because I think gig salad is one of the worst things ever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because people reach out and they'll say, yeah, we're doing a 50th anniversary party for this couple and we want a comedian.
Yeah, we got $200.
And I'll give them a price. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we had somebody else that said they could do it for $125.
Yeah, good luck with
that.
Go
with that person.
Good luck.
Go with that person,
because that person is the open micer that
you're going to get $125 worth of comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I said, did he show you a video? Well, he told me that he doesn't put any video online because everyone will steal his stuff.
Yes.
And you believe
and you believe that.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
You realize Sebastian Maniscalco has videos online, and he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. It's
no one's stealing his stuff.
It's such a crazy business.
Yeah,
it really is. Paul, what can we promote for you?
Oh yeah, let's talk a little bit, because I know we were originally going to have you and your partner come in. And unfortunately, Matt couldn't make it. But let's talk a little bit about the project you've been working on. And then when it comes out, we'd love to have you guys back on to talk more about it. So
sure. Well,
what have
we
you
hope
been
it
working
comes
on?
out. I mean, it's just a pilot.
But I watched the sizzle reel. It is very, very, very funny. It's a hilarious concept. I love what they're doing with it.
It was I was doing a show on the South Shore with Bill McMorrow. I don't know if you know him.
I don't know him.
And this guy approached me afterwards who used to do stand-up.
Yep.
Like, evidently Matt did it a while back.
Okay.
Dropped out, and this guy Jason dropped out. So you might have ran into one or two of these guys back in the day.
I didn't know Matt, but what's Jason's last
Jason Margasa.
No, I never.
So I said, I don't remember you, but yeah, whatever. I'll take your card. Thought nothing of it at the time. Called him a few weeks later. He pitched me the idea. So I sat and met with him, and that's when I met Matt, or re-met Matt. I'd met them previous, doing some shows for Annette Pollock and whatever. So we spent about a year writing it.
Yeah.
Jason's really meticulous. Like, you'll write something, you think, okay, how's this? No, we're rewriting.
We're rewriting.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's that now? No, we're rewriting. He's constantly rewriting, reshooting. Right. But that hard work paid off for him, because he, when he finally finished it and sent it out preliminary, we got a lot of good feedback. We got into the Houston Film Festival. They showed it.
Yep.
And then recently he sent it to Faden. Faden, actually, you mentioned James Spader's show Blacklist. That's where Faden, that's where they got discovered.
Oh, really?
So we sent it to Faden's comedy contest for 2022. There were 400 entries. And he texted me one day. I'd kind of forgotten about it. I think about it here and there, but I'm not thinking about it every day. And he goes, we just won the grand prize for Faden.
Wow.
You're kidding me. And so he got a little bit of money to fly out. It was actually this weekend.
Yep.
And pitch it to people, but because of COVID, he's doing it online.
Okay.
And then he's got sort of a special pass where he gets access, but he's going to do that next year when he can actually fly out to LA.
Be there, yeah.
So he'll pitch it this weekend, and he'll have access again next year. So he's just going to be meeting people, and we hope we can get at least a little small development deal and try to see if we can grow it.
Right.
But, it's just it's a show about me as a divorced, out of comedy comedian who's itching to get back.
Yep.
Working with a prop comic when I hate prop comedy.
Right.
And there's a backstory to that. But my job is I'm a temp. So we think there's a good vehicle there, because you'll have a new job every episode, and you can bring comedians in.
Oh, right.
In different positions.
Yeah, different positions to the temp jobs.
Yeah.
And so you're mentoring this newer comic who's a prop comic.
Yeah.
And you don't really like prop comedy, but you're stuck kind of mentoring her.
Yeah.
And she is hot, I'm not gonna lie. So
she's a pretty girl.
Yeah, she's pretty.
Well, that's part of the demographic.
But that's the concept of the show. So I watched the sizzle reel. I'm like, this is a great concept.
And Mitch is in it. You know Mitch.
Mitch Stinson. Yeah. We got to get him on too. He's another guy.
Mitch and I started together.
We were wanting to get
Mitch
on.
and I started together.
Yeah, I love Mitch.
Yeah.
I really
Him
love
and I were doing a bunch of open mics together.
Yeah, I was watching the
first
sizzle
started,
reel.
yeah.
I'm like, I know that one. I know that one. I know Mitch. Yeah.
The whole pilot's in there, I think. I sent it to you, right?
I don't know if I watched the whole pilot. I think I only
But it
watched
should
the
be in
sizzle
there.
reel,
Yeah.
but I'll have to go back and I'll look, and I'm going to send all of it
Hello.
to Scott. I'm sorry. Listen, I've been a little busy with fucking camp and dance competitions over the past week, so I've I've been a little crazy.
Yeah, Rich is busy over here.
Rich is
Come on.
busy.
You know?
That's right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
he's got his rich hat on right
I
now.
got my rich hat. I got my dad hat. Yeah, believe me, the dad hat is on. I'm going on a. I literally last week was supposed to be at my son's Boy Scout camp for the whole week because it's his last year. He's 17. He's aging out. He's making Eagle. So I had all this planned, like it's my last year with my son.
Mhm.
And then halfway through, my ex-wife had some complications to a surgery and couldn't travel out of state. My youngest daughter had dance competition in Atlantic City the same weekend. So I had to leave camp halfway through, go down to Atlantic City, which is a shithole.
Yeah.
Oh
it
my
is.
God.
It's
I'm
fun.
sure
Though.
the-
It's fun.
The Borgata looks beautiful
Yeah, that's a nice place.
from the distance at the Tropicana in the shitty room that I got put in at the Tropicana. I will go on record as saying Tropicana shithole, as Frank
I was just gonna
Santarelli would
say.
say. Tropicana shithole.
You can make phone calls.
Well, it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned
free HBO.
you mentioned Sunday at the Connection how it
Yeah.
was bad, but it was the opposite for me at the Borgata. The Sunday night
Really?
was the best show of the week. Someone told me you're going to do 6 shows, 2
Yeah.
will be good, 2 will be average, 2 will suck. And sure enough, there was some bad because the people
Yeah.
gamble and they're miserable.
Right.
So I remember Sunday night I had like my best set, and as I walked out, a couple of them like, "Wow, you're a good comedian." It's like, well, I was the same comedian as the other night.
As the rest of the week, I did the same fucking material.
This
Right.
place, like we usually do. We
Right.
usually do 90% hit rate, right?
Yeah. Right.
As comedians, and
Especially when you get to be a headliner. Yeah. You're hitting 90%.
but when you're in casinos or playing for cops, as you know,
Totally
you do cop
different.
shows
Yeah.
sometimes. Those guys are like, make me laugh, buddy.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Cops
So
and firemen.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
There's that brotherhood. So they're all tight knit.
Yeah.
And you're an outsider to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, last week I was rich.
Yeah.
I was
and
fully
it's
rich.
carrying over to this week. That's all I know.
All right. Whatever. No,
So,
listen, man.
website, social media, what can we promote for you?
Yeah. Come on. Talk about
well,
us with marketing.
I do Instagram videos, in Paul Nardizzi comedy on Instagram.
Yep.
Okay.
And one show I'm plugging is Fulcino's Vineyard in New Hampshire.
1 hour north of Boston in
With John-
Hollis, New Hampshire.
John Fish and Dave Russo. Yeah.
We had Russo on. He literally every 20 minutes was like, Fulcino Vineyards, 1 hour north of Boston, outside of Nashua. Every time he posts something about it, I go, is that Fulcino Vineyards, 1 hour north of Boston? Yeah, listen, he booked some
That's
great
because every
shows
20
up
minutes
there.
he was opening another bottle.
Another bottle of wine. Yeah. Hey, have I told you about this Merlot I'm drinking? Yeah, it was
The best Dave Russo story
Yeah.
is Don Gavin is driving up with him somewhere. And this is Don telling the story.
Yeah.
Hey, Dave, ask you a question? Yeah. You ever shut the fuck up?
That's perfect. That is perfect. Yeah, that's
That
Dave.
is Dave.
And we love
100%.
Dave. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. I did. I saw that Fulcino Vineyard. So yeah, check it out. What's the date on that?
August 5th.
August 5th. So next week, if you're up in the New Hampshire area, if you're vacationing, you got to check out Fulcino Vineyards. They put on great shows. Paul's going to be on it. Dave's on it. And who else?
John Fish.
John Fish.
Wow.
Another
that's-
guy who I want to
stacked
reach out
lineup.
to.
Mhm.
Originally started in Boston, and now has been like a staple in New York.
Yeah.
Like he's at every club in New York. I see the set lists all the
Yeah.
time that they post, and he's on all the shows. So very, very funny comic, John Fish. You got to check that show out if you're up in New
That's
Hampshire.
FISCH.
FISCH.
Yes. And if you'd like to see a fantastic comedy show, September 24th, go to the Center at Eagle Hill. Google that, and you can see a Rich Aceto / Ace Aceto, Paul Nardizzi, myself,
Yes.
along with Linda Bell and Howie Mason. We're going to do a show at the a beautiful theater there at the Center at Eagle Hill. 7:30 showtime. Tickets are now on sale right at their box office. So check that out as well.
And again, if you've ever wanted to come into the Acement to watch a recording of Behind the Funny, we are going to be doing it live. It's not going to be in the Acement. We're going to be live.
We're taking the Acement to you
at the Comedy Park in Cranston, Rhode Island next weekend, which by the time this comes out, it'll be this weekend. So August 6th, 8 o'clock show. Tickets are available at Comedy Park. Is it Comedy Park?
TheComedyPark.com.
Oh, thecomedypark.com. Tickets are available. It's going to be Scott, myself, and Brian Vincent. We're going to be doing a little bit of time, like 15 minutes of each of comedy, and then we're going to be doing a live behind the funny
comedy, half comedy stories.
Yep,
all laughs,
And if you're in the audience, you're going to have
marketing,
the opportunity.
Paul.
Yes,
yeah,
that's marketing.
If you're in the audience, you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions to myself, Scott, and Brian about our careers and stuff like that. So it's going to be a really fun interactive show where it's going to be comedy and in the podcast. So check it out. Go to thecomedypark.com for tickets for August 6th.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Nailed it
for promotion. Marketing.
Very good. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sales.
I'm 4.0.
I'm sales, but I try marketing every once in a while. But
absolutely.
No, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, we've wanted you on for a long time. It's great to talk about your career, and then again, we'd love to have you and Matt on another time just to talk about the show, how it kind of came about, from his perspective as well, how he came up with it. And then hopefully by the time we get you guys on, there's even more heat on it. And we see.
This was fun, man. I enjoyed talking to both of you guys.
It was fun. It was really fun.
You guys must enjoy this. It's fun to do.
We absolutely love it. It's so funny when we get to talk to people and we're like, hey, we've been on for an hour and a half. And you're like, what? An hour and a half? Bill Campbell came on one of the earlier seasons. He's like, guys, I don't know what I talk about. It's like, Bill, you've been doing comedy 45 years.
You got to have a
by
few
the end of
stories
like an hour and a half. Actually, his was a 2-part episode.
We split it in 2 parts.
We did 2 hours with him. He's like, oh my God, this was, it went by so fast. It was so much fun. And I got so many other stories. We should reach out to him to get him on again. Because now, since then, he had his dry bar special come out and stuff like that. So it'll be cool. But we enjoy it. So thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And listen, folks, again, 5-star written review. Please let us know that you're listening. Tell a friend and subscribe. If you're not subscribing, hit the subscribe button. We'd love to have you listen every week. And our promise to you is we will continue to book as many funny people as we can and put on good shows. And we've got some special stuff we were talking about before the show.
And to our very loyal listeners and fans that have been with us for a while, to my chagrin, Ace is working up a great Scott-tober.
Yes,
this year.
I am. I already told Scott, don't make any plans. August 27th, we will be doing an investigation with the folks at Rise Up Paranormal at the Payne House, 1 mile down the road from my house. One of the most active places in New England. And that's only going to be the leaping off point, folks. We're going to do that investigation. We're going to have some amazing guests in Scottober. But once we do that investigation, we're probably going to try and set something up at the Bradley Playhouse. For an investigation there. And my ultimate goal is to get Scott into the Conjuring house.
Never agreed to do that.
No, I know you didn't agree, but that's my goal. My goal is to get Scott into the Conjuring house with our buddy Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal. But we have some amazing shows coming up in Scottober. We are going to have Satori Hawes and Cody Debians back with their traveling artifacts.
The Paranormal Museum.
The Paranormal Museum. They're going to come back and they're going to talk about stuff. And Tom Stewart is already on board. I told Tom, I said, dude, you could be the 3rd guest host through the whole month of Scottober. So he's excited and he's working on a special
He doesn't
guest.
have to be the 3rd guest host. He could be your
No, because there is one.
That's fine.
There is one special guest I'm working on that I cannot wait to bring
I
on.
fucking hate when you do this.
I know. It's so awesome. It's going to be so great. So, folks, we are planning on ending the year with a bang. Please continue to tell friends about us. Please continue to listen. Patreon.com/Behind the Funny if you want to become a patron for some extra content and
I'll
and
need the cash
merchandise.
for the psychiatry bills.
Yeah, right. And then and you know, just please tell a friend about us. We really appreciate it.
Sounds good.
And other than that,
we will talk to you
next week.